Free Your Voice Podcast.
Welcome to the Free Your Voice podcast, where we are speaking, surprise, surprise, about public speaking and today, how to get comfortable in front of the camera. My name is Wolfgang and today I'm so happy that he's my guest. He's from Canada. He is a public speaking coach and he helps people not to freeze in front of an audience or in front of the camera. Welcome, Darren Young. Hi.
Hi, Wolfgang. Thanks for having me here.
It's great to have you here, Darren, especially, you are from Canada. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'm really grateful to have you here this early. Darren, let's start right away with what you do and what your personal experience is when we talk about freezing in front of an audience. Did you ever freeze in front of an audience?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think if you talk to anyone who has a passion for public speaking, there's always some story, some origin that triggered it. And for me, it was freezing for 11 minutes on stage at that time in my life, the biggest presentation of my life. So I remember it was a group presentation and it was all four of us. It was junior university, I was 22 years old, and I'd never really been on stage before. But I thought, I can do this, I can speak. I've spent my entire life talking, and I love talking to people. We're gonna rock this. And I never thought in my lifetime it would happen. But the minute I stepped on stage and I looked out into that void, I blanked and I froze. And it wasn't until there was a sudden interruption where some lost student opened up the door, realized it, slammed that door, that it made me come back to my senses, and I realized I hadn't moved at all. And I felt so bad afterwards, and I never wanted to feel that way again. So fast forward more than a decade of building the skills, building the confidence, figuring out what worked for me, and then figuring out how to help other people with that. I slowly started to accept that this is the thing that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I call it the one thing. It's the one thing I'm willing to spend the next 40 years mastering, because it just means so much to me.
That's great. Yeah, it's true that many of us public speaking coaches come from those bad experiences, but at the end of the day, it wasn't so bad. It triggered something in you, and without that experience, we wouldn't be talking right now, I guess. So
absolutely.
That's great. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times.
Sorry.
Honestly, I can't tell you how many times I share this, thinking that I'm going to be worried or judged, only to realize that everyone else has felt the exact same way. It's a shared bond that connects us all. Yeah.
It's a really good motivation to get this out of the way, because the fear of public speaking, for me, it's just a mental barrier. Everything is here. At the end, in the most cases, it's our ego which stops us. And we think about way too much about ourselves when we go on stage, instead of thinking of the audience, right? And this is mostly the reason that we fear public speaking. The fear of being judged, the fear of people saying things, look at him, he's not a good public speaker and says everything wrong. But we are way too much thinking about ourselves from my point of view. And it's interesting, I had the same experience more than a decade ago too. And how do you help your clients to get rid of that fear, to overcome that fear?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've been working on not just techniques, but a system. I believe that if we have a system to help us fight our fear, then over time we can personalize that. Because a simple technique will work in different ways with different people. And I just find that to be my experience, where what worked for me didn't really hit home for this person, and didn't really hit home for this person until we tweaked it a little bit and made that better. So I found well, if there is a system, series of questions and exercises that we can do to help tailor this to them, then then they not only walk away with the skill to do so, but an asset that they can always come back to and lean on over time if they ever have another situation. Because I've always found you can master at this level, but once you go up to this level, does the fear come back? And I always want my clients, the people that I work with, to have something to lean on if I'm not there with them. So for me, I break it down into the fight your fear. It's three different modules. There's being fearless, being powerful, and then being charismatic. And the powerful and charismatic is the more tactical. What do I say and how do I say it, and how do I craft my speech? Like the more common things that we think about with public speaking. And that first module is actually just 100% how do we get out of our head? How do we stop thinking about ourselves and the fear of judgment or what others will say, and we start rewiring the habits and the conversations in our mind. And for my particular area, which is around freezing and forgetting, I really found that separating that is a powerful way, because that sets the foundation for everything else. It doesn't matter how powerful you speak or how much you can change the tone and the voice and emotion in your story or craft amazing speech if you still freeze and forget your words. So I like to focus on that first.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, it's both. It's the confidence and it's the technique.
Yeah.
Wow. And the technique, I mean, there are so many things you can use. You can watch YouTube videos, you can read books and stuff, but I guess the confidence comes from the feedback you get from a coach. And this is where you can really improve on. It's also very helpful to see what are your strengths.
Yeah.
Because I think every public speaker is different. Of course, there are these common things when you write a speech, when you structure a speech, call to action at the end of the day. Of course, everything is important, but it's all about finding out what is my strength, what is my personality, and the parts of my personality I can use in public speaking to make more impact.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about video. I mean, right now on LinkedIn, everybody is talking about video, the new video feed, and millions of impressions. Nothing like that. Yeah, I would love that. So, you help also people get more confident in front of a camera. And it's true that an audience is very different to a camera, because, I mean, with an audience, for me, it's actually a dialogue between me and the audience, because I can directly connect to the people with the eye contact, with the reaction of the audience. The camera is cold. How do you help people to accept the camera as their friend?
There's a lot in there that I really love. So I want to focus on that one question. Accept it as a friend, because I found, and how I kind of made my way through this to this very specific niche, is that I originally started as just general public speaking, and then public speaking for business owners, entrepreneurs, and then on camera, and then freezing and forgetting on camera. Because the more conversations I heard, the more I found, especially with the people that I was talking to, you have incredibly talented, incredibly smart, and capable experts in their field. They've done this, whatever they were doing, for a decade plus, and they know their stuff. So it's never really the matter of that. Is, as you say, the minute I go on camera, I just feel uncomfortable. Whereas, and I've heard this before, I can be in front of 6,000 people and I don't bat an eye. I can stand on stage without any presentations, my slides go down, and I adapt like that. But the minute I go on camera and I see that red light turn on, I just go blank. And that was a common thread again and again and again. So I kept thinking, why, and I'm still exploring, like, what is the deeper reasons for that shift? And it's like you said, we don't see the camera as our friend. We see it as this device, this piece of hardware that just connects us from one to the other. And when we don't have that visual feedback, that physical energy, like when you're on stage, and it really feels like this momentum builds, it all has to come through you. It all has to come from you. And if you're not the type of person who gets energy from this type of activity, then honestly, you feel yourself drained. And if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to come back and do it again. So then you don't actually get better. I found what helped me to actually speak to the camera like a friend was, and this sounds so simple, but it was uh, it was a combination of just repetitions and practice, like we all know is important. You have to actually do the work.
Sure.
But I did three things in particular when I was doing that. One, and this is just me, I obsessed around the setup and the way in which I looked on camera. And that sounds really a little different, but here's why I say that's important. If you don't
Yeah.
love the way you look and sound on
Mm.
camera,
Yeah.
you're not going to come back again tomorrow. You're not going to review the video. You're not going to see what you can do to improve. So you actually don't get good feedback from it. So I took that away by just having a simple setup, camera, light, good microphone, where I felt comfortable doing so. So I enjoyed being on camera in the first place, reducing that
Okay.
friction. I started to use um, I started to use Loom as a way to create uh, to send messages to people to get those repetitions in because I had to do that. That was an activity that was a non-negotiable for me. So I tied the action of getting better on camera to something I already needed to do, which was reaching out and connecting with people. Broke that little effort,
Okay.
the extra effort that was required for me to get there. And then the third one, I actually put, this will sound funny, I put a picture of one of my best friends right behind the camera so that I actually felt like I was talking to the camera. And eventually I took that picture away and I visualized what it was like for me to be speaking in a coffee shop with my friend across that table. Where over time, the more I did the outreach and the more I enjoyed what I saw and heard back on video, it was this positive feedback loop that allowed me to feel like I was speaking with my friend. And I anchored all of those actions to that positive memory because I have uh, monthly meetups with my coffee meetups with my friend, and I just visualized that because those are
Mm.
the types of conversations I love having, and that
Mm.
made it easier.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's not the first time I hear this. With like putting a photo of a friend or of your partner, yeah, on the cam and speak to them. That's awesome. And what I like very much about what you are saying, two things actually. First thing, make it easy. So don't make it too complicated because I think making it complicated often is an excuse. That means, oh, I need a better cam, oh, I need a better microphone, oh, I need whatever better. At the end of the day, today's phones, they are so good. If you want to do a video for TikTok, it's good enough. I mean, you don't
Absolutely.
have to be in television with that. But for TikTok, I mean, the usual phone camera is good enough, and that's the way to start. I like that very much because it's also related a little bit about liking yourself, like your voice, like your picture. Because if you don't like your picture, how do you expect that other people are going to like it, or your
Mhm.
voice? So I mean, and it's also about, as you said, you have to check, you have to listen to yourself, and for that you have to be comfortable for seeing yourself. That's super helpful tips, really. Thank you for that.
And
Um,
can I just
when you,
can I layer
yeah, no, of course,
one more little insight onto that? At the
yeah,
fundamental level, what I was doing, and I said this earlier, is I was rewiring the conversation in my mind, where my
yeah,
first thought was, "Ooh, I don't like this. Oh, do I really look and sound like that?" And then I started to focus on the negative anytime I did that. So these small little tips moved it towards the positive, where I didn't think that I sounded like Alvin and the Chipmunks with a high squeaky voice, and I didn't worry and obsess over the image and how it looked and portrayed me, making it look like I was ah, just a terrible grainy photo that we always look back and just like cringe whenever we see it. I created something out of camera. I was proud to share with people, reduce the
Yeah,
effort required, and change the conversation in your mind.
yeah, absolutely. That's very important, that point. And that also applies to public speaking in general. I hear often people who like to speak in public, who are really experts on speaking in public, and when I ask them, okay, for a starter, when I talk to clients, can you send me a video of yourself speaking? And they say, no, 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 I don't have video. I don't like to be recorded. And it's more or less the same. They don't like to be recorded because they don't like to watch themselves afterwards. And
Yes.
they also say, yeah, but when I watch myself, then I see so many errors, I see so many things. And especially for public speaking, it doesn't make any sense, because usually when you do a speech, when you do a presentation, it's not recorded. You do it for the audience, usually if it isn't a TEDx talk or TED talk. So usually it's just that moment and that's it. So in general, nobody in the audience will remember those small little errors at the end of the day. But of course, if you watch it on video, many get very critical with themselves. And it's true that one has to find a very healthy way to use video to get better on stage. And it's also something I work on with my clients, especially when it's about like analyzing yourself. And then it's especially that, focus on the good things, focus on the positive things, focus on the things you really see what work. People were laughing. Wow, super cool. Why did they laugh? Maybe you can do that again, or
Yeah.
even make it better next time. But it's a step. It's something maybe we are not used to do. Maybe we are used too much to criticize ourselves. I don't know where this comes from, but it's definitely something which I see a lot of times. Yeah.
I was speaking with this one woman. She's been training and facilitating for years, and when she speaks, she has this quality to her voice where it just puts you at ease and relaxed, and you want to listen to her. And when I was
Yeah.
speaking with her, she had the exact same thing. I put me on stage and I'm good. Put me on camera and I freeze. And she said a word which really has always stood out to me, which is there's a sense of permanence. That, as you said, when you're on stage, no one's recording it. It lives and stays in that moment between you and the audience. But when it's on camera and it can be posted out to the world, there's a sense of permanence. Like if it was
Yes.
a piece of a painting that you put into an art gallery, this represents the best you could do in that moment. And for all of us, especially when we're experts, we hold ourselves to such high standards that, well, this isn't. You see all those mistakes, so you say this isn't the best that I could do in that moment.
Mm.
I think that's the conversation that we need to rewire and change. Because ultimately, if you have never done the work to improve, I mean, of course, you can't expect yourself to create a masterpiece on the first get-go.
Absolutely. That will never happen. I mean, creating a masterpiece in that very moment. And there's another aspect to it, and I found this very interesting, because the other day, I don't know, I was cleaning up my computer because there wasn't any space and I was deleting big files. So I stumbled upon an old video of mine like 7 or 8 years ago where I gave a speech. And actually at that point, I was pretty happy with that speech. And I watched it again and it was okay. I mean, but it's also cool to see, and hey, I'm not there. Nobody is never there, but there's so much room for improvement, of course. But on the other side, you see the way you have already gone, the things you already achieved in that time. And of course there's improvement. And I think watching old videos of yourself show that. And if there wouldn't have been a recording, I wouldn't have been able to see that. So that's also an aspect to video. I mean, it's like a documental of your evolution as a speaker.
Can I ask your opinion on something? I want to know if you've experienced this as well, because
Yeah, of course.
to what you just said, I recently found an old video that was
Hmm?
6 months by now, and I found that it was more painful to review than most of the other videos I've done in the
Really?
last little while. And I would watch myself on video every single day to record and review
Yeah.
to get better incrementally. But that when I saw this older video, I got
Hmm.
that exact same cringing, gut wrenching feeling
Really?
again. Something that I
Cool.
thought I had gotten rid of, which led me to believe
Yeah.
in this, which led me to form this one theory, which is the older the video, the greater the pain, the greater the pain you will feel, because the larger the gap between your current self and your former
Yeah.
self, where what you see on
Okay.
video does not reflect all of the progress and improvement you have made so far. That
Uh,
if I just look at a video that I filmed yesterday or last week, it's still
hmm.
close enough to how I see myself right now. My image of the
Okay.
skill that I have and how good I am. But that when I
Yeah.
look back and I know I've made this massive improvement, and I don't see it anymore, our brains can't put two and two together. So we think, oh no, am I actually as good as I thought it was? And I
Really.
found that to
Yeah.
be the case, and
Okay.
I wanted to know your experience.
Yeah. It's totally different, but it's super funny to hear your experience on that. My experience with that is that if I take an example, I do a presentation, I have a recording, and usually I don't watch it the next day. If it's not something super urgent, I have to rewatch it for whatever technical reason. But usually, if I've done my job, I just, I just, I'm not interested in it. I mean, it's still there, the emotion, the connection between the audience, and I can send. I mean, usually you also talk to people afterwards, so you get a sense if it was good or it was not so good. So I usually don't watch that. And there's another reason for that, because the emotional connection with that presentation is still very high. But it's true that, for example, when I watch an older video, let it be, yeah, 1 year or 6 months maybe, it's true that, I mean, I've done so many things in between. Yeah, it's already, I mean, I even can't remember that. I can remember, but it's, yeah, uh, not very present in my brain at that point. And I watch it and I'm emotionally disconnected. And so I can watch the video and say, okay, yeah, that worked, that didn't work, and I got better there. And no, it's different, the experience from yours. But it's true that in my case, it's about the emotional connection to that presentation or to that speech. It's maybe just not there anymore. So I can be colder when I watch it.
Probably
Yeah.
more tactical, just looking at the technique of what you want to improve or evaluate from a different lens versus. Oh, I love that. Okay. Oh,
Yeah. But I mean, at that day you say, as you said before, at the end of the day, it's about the mindset. And but I didn't go especially into that mindset. It was just, as I said, it was that case. Uh, yeah, I just saw that old video. Yeah,
yeah.
funny.
Well, I brought that up just for as a little practical tip because it's something I started to bring with my clients. Where again, keep in mind, like they're not as far in their public speaking journey. They're still getting over that fear, so the pain is
Yeah.
very real. So I say, well, if you can't look at a 6 month, focus on just reviewing within a shorter time frame to decrease the amount of pain you
Mm,
feel. So you can
mm,
slowly go 10 seconds, 30
mm,
seconds, a minute, see your full video, because that's also where you're going to get the most improvement as you start at the beginning of your journey. Who you see
mm.
6 months from now will be completely different. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I think it's good to have those older videos, especially
So,
if you are in a training. That's what I like very much, because usually what we do at the beginning of a training is we do a video, and then at the end of the training also do a video.
yeah.
And they can really see the evolution.
Yes.
And for that purpose, video is just great. So if you have the possibility, whenever you give a speech, that's my recommendation for everybody who's listening, make video.
Oh,
The best thing you can do. Yeah, definitely. Darren, when you work with your clients, what I like very much and what's actually my motivation to do this job is to see the transformation. Just what I mentioned. I mean, when you start working with people, let it be newbies or let it be already advanced speakers who want to get on another level, there's always a transformation. And it's so great to see that and to be able to help people to reach that transformation. Can you remember, or what has been the biggest transformation in the client you have seen until now when you think of your clients?
We haven't hit the full before and after. This is a current client, someone I'm working with. But they, in classic entrepreneur, business owner mindset, they said yes to an opportunity that could put them in front of anywhere from 20 to 2,000 people, depending on who within this conference attends. And they've had a history of not feeling great, let's just call it that, of potentially freezing or forgetting your words in front of people. And it's not, for me, the power hasn't been in the end-to-end transformation, but in the small shift in the words they've been using to describe how they feel about this upcoming opportunity. I've never felt more prepared in my life. I'm excited. I know I can do this. It's just a matter of practice. And for that, compared to when we first started, of I'm nervous, I don't know what to do, and you can see it on their face and in their body. I think I've been getting more satisfaction and joy from the shift in the words they use in our conversations. And I honestly can't wait until what happens at the end of it. Sorry, Wolfgang, I think you're muted.
Now I'm not muted anymore. Okay, so I mean, this is just what I'm talking about. This is about the transformation, and you just described it very good. The words they are using, just when they think about public speaking. I mean, usually at the beginning, it's like, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I'm nervous. I don't really like it. And at the end, they enjoy it. Yeah. And it's also an experience I have when I talk to people at the beginning and I tell them, hey, at the end of that training, you will enjoy public speaking.
Yeah.
Many of them, they just don't believe me and it's true. I mean, I have been there. For me, it has been really a fight, and I was totally scared to go and, even not even on stage, even to talk in front of 5 people in a meeting. That has been a problem many years ago. So I understand very well where the problem is. Yeah. Darren, that has been a very great conversation. I really loved how you explained the video thing, how to get comfortable with the camera. When people want to improve their skills in front of the camera, their public speaking skills, where can they find you? On LinkedIn, website?
Right now I am solely on LinkedIn. That is the one single channel in which I'm trying to create and provide as much value as possible. You'll actually be seeing me do a lot more videos of my own self. So I'm not only just I'm walking the talk. Yeah, and so if at any point in time anyone has any questions, they can always reach me on LinkedIn, and I respond to everyone.
Okay, great. We will anyway put the link in the show notes of Darren's profile on LinkedIn. Darren, thank you so much for being here early in the morning. And now I know you have a whole day ahead. So I wish you a great day. And thanks again for being here.
Thanks for having me, Wolfgang.
Yeah, and don't forget, keep on speaking and free your voice.